In case you haven't read it, let me read it up for you. You are judging a Table A 238.2.2 competition. It is clear after the first two competitors that the time allowed is too generous. So, in consultation with the course designer, you reduce the time allowed by 4 seconds from 71 to 67 seconds. This alteration is announced over the main loudspeaker as well as the ninth rider is about to start his round. The horse naps, resists, and he ends up being 6.7 seconds over the countdown. The rider jumps a clear round, but saying the course was not altered, and he did not hear the announcement as he was not in the warm-up ring. He wants his time fault to be removed so he can start in the jump-off. What is your reaction? We discussed this. I think the very, very easy solution would be for the ground jury to just say, you know, tough luck, you should listen to the announcement, and we're going to keep the one-time faults. But we also look at it from another angle because there is a genuine case that he might not have heard of the changing in the time allowed. It was not written on the course plan. So there is also, you know, another view saying that, you know, we should scratch the one fault and let that horse into the jump off. In this case, we don't think the 6.7 whatever seconds over, you know, the countdown was an issue. But we also we looked at another point as well, saying that if this rider went into jump off and won the competition, we might have a complaint from other riders. So I guess on the balance of everything else, we tend to stay with the one-time fault. But I have to say that some of our members in our group, you know, they might not agree totally, and I don't think anybody has a real strong opinion about either way. I guess either way, you can't say it's a wrong decision. So have I said anything? Good. So, but I think, you know, on balance of everything, we are going to stick with a one-time fault. So, what do we do now?
And we also discussed a lot about the course plan in the warm-up, that it should be altered. And a lot of riders also look in their phones, since the course plan also is on the internet and also the starting list. And the time allowed is not changed on that course plan. So I guess a lot of us stick with the one-time fault. But also in the rule book, it says that it should be altered on the course plan.
Should be. 1, 2, 3.
Are there any comments from the floor? Why? Okay, yes.
When the horse resists and the countdown was over.
You know what to do.
Ralph from Germany, sorry. The rider comes over the time because the horse resists, and he comes 6.7 over the countdown time from 45 seconds. So if you put the 6.7 away from the 67.31, he's nearly by 60 second or 59 second. So he could have been in the time allowed if the horse wouldn't resist in the countdown. Yep. So normally with the one-time fault, that's totally okay.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Sorry, Anne from Italy. I think for me, the main thing is the course plan in the warrant was not altered. We were responsible for altering that. So if we do not take that fault away from him, then they could come back and it would be the jury. I think we are obliged to take it away because the rider, maybe he doesn't understand English or Spanish or whatever language the announcement was made in. In our rule books, it says we are obliged to do so. So we are therefore at fault. That's why.
Can I make a comment on the answer by the other gentleman? You said the 6.7 seconds. You know, I think in either case, whether we change the time allowed or not, that horse went over 45 seconds anyway. So we we do not think that it should be taken into consideration when we make the decision. But again, back to this lady here, I think, you can make a decision either way, and nobody could really say that you're wrong. At least what I think.
Joanna Gillespie.
And that is also the big issue that we discussed also, is that we didn't want to take the time fault away, because then we have problems with other riders. But if we do take the time fault away and this rider comes into the jump off, he probably will win, and then we have a problem. And then we have the protests.
Joanna Gillespie. I was in group 2 with this question, and I was one of the members that felt that we should take the time fault away, because the fact that the rider wasn't in the warm-up at the time, he didn't have to be in the warm-up at that time because only 2 competitors had gone, and the fact that the course plan hadn't been altered, I felt that he was the first one, and all the riders after that competitor, the course plan will have been altered, and so there would be no question if anybody else complained.
Okay, there is one last comment, and then I will try to come with a...
Even from a riding point of view, if I start the course and my horse has a problem starting, and I look up and the time starts before I go through the starting flags, I already know I'm going to have time faults.
Yeah.
Okay, just to summarize that, and that we really concentrate on the case as it is written here on the paper. The only reason for the time penalty of this horse is that the countdown expired completely. Simple as that. And this is what somebody said. This rider got time penalties because the countdown expired. Simple as that. So with or without changing the time allowed, it wouldn't have changed anything. So that time penalty definitely stands. Some general remarks to this, because in the beginning I was not too happy with the wording of that question, but I guess that question pretty much reflects what's happening in reality, but this is not necessarily what should happen in reality. First of all, what is the place for the course plan? Where do we have to put the course plan? What is the place for the course plan? Show office, I hear.
Near the in-gate.
So, okay, to keep it short, if you take a look at the rule book, it's at the entrance of the arena. It's neither the show office nor the warm-up. We have to take care, because there is an inflation of course plans now, and the course designers do a good job by posting them everywhere. But the one and only course plan that counts is the course plan which is at the entrance of the main arena. Full stop. That's the first sentence. So if you change the time allowed, take care that the time will be changed on that specific course plan. You can't change it in the internet. You can't change it at all the other places. But at that specific place, it has to be changed. And just to point that out, it is not the job of the chief steward to do this. It is the responsibility of the ground jury and the course designer. What we do in reality, we take the radio and ask a steward, which is somewhere down in the corridor, to change it. But it is not the responsibility of a steward or the chief steward. It's the full responsibility of the course designer or the ground jury. So, obviously, that hasn't been done in this case, and there would be other cases where this would play a significant role. But in this specific case, it's because the countdown expired. So there is no change of the result. The time penalty stands. In reality, take care that there is a course plan at the in-gate. Take care whenever there is a change that it will be posted on the course plan as well, that you change it on the course plan. And the other thing you have to do is make sure that the rider who is in the arena, who is the next one to start, really gets the information that the time allowed has been changed. So wait before you ring the bell till it has been announced in the local language and in English. And I'm sorry for the people who do not speak the local language and who do not speak English, then they might get lost in translation, but it's an international show and we can't do it in all the languages of the world, so there is always somebody who might not understand that. But get a confirmation from the rider who is in the arena that you just say, Mr. Smith, did you hear that the time allowed has been altered? And then he's just raising his hand, and then you ring the bell, and not before. Last sentence on that. Once again, I would like to remind you, because that's also here in the wording, that the time is too generous. A time is never too generous. It's not that the time is too long or too short. We change the time allowed if there is a significant error in the measuring of the course. And please take that into consideration. And I do not want to make a too long speech about that. But changing the time allowed is an emergency exit if the measurement of the course went wrong. And it is not a fine-tuning tool for course designers to adjust the degree of difficulty after 3 horses. Just to make that absolutely clear. So it has to be the absolute exception that you change the time allowed. And if you measure the course together with the course designer, you should be sure that in most of the cases it has been done according to the rule book and that there is no significant error. I know that sometimes course designers want to have 1 second more or 1 second less. If you calculate the length of the course, which takes 1 second, I don't think that 6 meters or something like that is significant. If you have a course which is 500 meters long and then you discuss 1 second, then you discuss 6 meters. Is that significant? I doubt that. For a course designer, 1 second makes a hell of a difference. But it's not according to the rules if you change it then. So be very careful when you change the rules. So final result of this case, the decision stands. However, obviously, the ground jury made some mistakes which should be avoided. Are there any comments on that decision? Good. Okay, good. Freddie is just making a very good comment. You have 3 riders where you can wait before you make the decision. It does not mean that you have to wait for 3. So sometimes it's so obvious after 1 rider, and I have some sympathy that you then change it even after 1 rider. However, in most of the cases, you have 3 riders, and you can be as experienced as you like to. You always are in the situation that you see somebody and you say the time allowed is too short, and you want to increase the time, and you have just increased it, and then the 4th rider is doing it 5 seconds in the original time allowed. So we always make that mistake again and again. So if you have the time to wait for 3 horses, it would be better to wait for 3. Under exceptional circumstances, sometimes you change it even after 1 horse, but you have 3 horses and maybe you wait just for 3 horses.
But maybe with 2 horses can happen, no?
Yeah, as I say, if you are absolutely sure after 2 horses and you are 100% sure or 150% sure that it would be good to change the time allowed now, because one thing is clear, every time we change the time allowed, we give a disadvantage to the people who have started already. Because these 3 do not know whether we change it or not. They have to live with our decision after 3 horses. So if we can minimize that, because we are absolutely sure and we change it already after 2, it's fine. But in most of the cases, I guess that in most of the cases, the average judge should take his time or her time to wait for 3 horses. You must be very experienced and you must be 100% sure if you change that already after 2 horses or even after 1 horse.
Maybe you can. What happened years ago in Gothenburg? The jury decided to change.
That was not Gothenburg. That was Herning European Championships. Yeah, this is a typical example where the ground jury changed the time allowed after 2 horses. And or even, yeah, what? I guess it was 2, but definitely they didn't wait for 3 horses, and then it turned out that they shouldn't have done it. Yeah, this can happen. And as I say, but hindsight is always easy. These people who were judging there were not people who did that just for 1 day. So this is the typical case where you are sure that you make the right decision, and then after the next horse you see that the decision was wrong. And this is happening to all of us, including everybody in the room. Good.